Okay, this video is my opinion on the January 6th, not January 6th itself, uh, but the hearings. First off, do I think Trump will be indicted? All right, this is not a criminal trial or anything like that. Could he ultimately later be indicted if criminal proceedings are brought against him? I mean, it's possible. But from the hearings themselves, the 3 days of hearings, no, I don't think so. It's going to be extremely hard for the Democrats to prove that Trump called for an insurrection, which I personally don't believe he did. I personally don't believe that he thought that that would come about, that that would happen. I don't think that at all. Um, Trump has a lot of rhetoric, a lot of, you know, stuff he says that gets him in trouble. He's got a mouth on him. But then again, that's free speech. He's entitled to that just as anybody else is. As far as in the hearings, they did a really good job. Liz Cheney, the Democrats, Trump's staff. I mean, except for, maybe a few lawyers, including Rudy Giuliani, um, they pretty much tried to tell Trump, hey, look, you lost fair and square. We've looked into everything. And they did. They really looked into everything. And the hearings showed that. The hearings, had these people sworn under oath, and most of them Republicans. And I know Liz Cheney's a Republican, but we know she's not really. You know. But anyway, um, the campaign people tried to tell Trump a lot of the stuff that we all seen the footage of Rudy Giuliani showing the extra ballot boxes being brought in at night. Turns out that was commonplace. That's normal and is perfectly legal. We're seeing the suitcases being pulled out from under tables. They weren't suitcases. That state allows those type of containers. They weren't suitcases though. Perfectly legal. Um, it's still hard for me to believe that 80 million people voted for Biden, but in all honesty, I think that many people hated Trump and didn't really know how bad Biden was. And you're starting to see the reflection of that now in the polls. I mean, there's only 1 in 4 Democrats who think Biden's okay. I mean, he will not be running in 2024. Even if he's healthy enough and he thinks he's going to, I got bad news for Biden. The Democrats are not going to let him run. I think they'll either do Liz Cheney or try Hillary Clinton again. But Biden's out. And Kamala, oh, please. Miss Giggles, no. I mean, I hope they do, but, so we can win. But when I say we, understand something. I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat either. I am a independent. I am very liberal on some things, and I am very conservative on others. I'll do a video about that later on, a little short video, if any of you are interested. But anyway, back to the hearings. Yeah, they did a really good job. But I do truly believe Trump believed that they were out to get him. I mean, let's be honest. If the government was constantly trying to put you in jail, you'd be paranoid as hell. Who wouldn't? I mean, you got the Russian collusion crap, the tax stuff. They even went after his son, you know, his daughter even, Ivanka. Uh, they attacked his wife. You know, I mean, they were constantly investigating something about him, whether it was taxes, blah blah blah. The Mueller report, all of that stuff turned out to be total BS. But his whole 4 years, it was nothing but that. 2 impeachments for nothing. I mean, so of course he was paranoid. If I were him, I probably wouldn't believe it was legit either. I mean, look at all the excitement about him, the Trump trains and everything. Meanwhile, Biden didn't even campaign. Here's the thing, though. Did Trump get cheated? Honestly, I don't know. The evidence, you know, never really came forward. Rudy Giuliani introduced it, blah, 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 and it turns out he was drunk some of the time. In the hearings, you'll find out that even Trump's staff members had to admit, yeah, Giuliani was intoxicated. And notice he's disappeared now. Just pretty much totally disappeared with all the evidence. What about the Venezuelan Dominican? I forget what they were called, but voting machines. You know, and yes, but that later got fixed years later, supposedly. That turned out to not really be all that true. There is evidence that was a problem with those voting machines, but supposedly was fixed decades later. They brought the evidence forward and said, here's our evidence, and showed us in a few videos, and then that was the end of it. You know, you didn't, I mean, come to the hearings. Bring all that to the hearings. You know, and Fox News not covering the hearings, they should have been there too. The hearings should have been more equal, liberals and Democrats, not just the never Trumpers, the rhinos, the you know, those Republicans. There was a lot of that. But in the end, the proof is in the pudding. And there just wasn't any pudding anywhere around. You know, we heard about the evidence. We seen Rudy Giuliani showing us the videos of people bringing boxes in from trucks at 4 in the morning after, you know, people had already left. The hearings investigated that, and it comes to find out that they had called the people back, blah, 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 all this stuff. Is all that true? I don't know, but I find it hard to believe that everybody's going to lie under oath and risk being caught by the Republicans. Even, you know, Trump's campaign people were all pretty much telling Trump, including William Barr. I think it's William Barr, but Barr, you know, telling him, look, dude, you lost. It is what it is. But the hearings were what they were. I don't blame Trump. I don't think he, you know, in the hearings they're also trying to say that he called for the January 6th insurrection. It wasn't an insurrection. You have to bring your guns and ammo for an insurrection if you're going to overthrow the government. They did have a lot of footage in the hearings of the Capitol being stormed. There was a lot of people. Man, there was a lot of people busting through, though. It wasn't just a handful of idiots. There was a lot of people. There was probably a couple hundred people that went into that Capitol and pushed people aside. Um, in the hearings, they kind of tried to beat around the bush and tried to claim that, people died because of the riot and so forth. And you can call it a riot because it really was a riot. Uh, it wasn't anywhere near some of BLM's riots, though. Those mostly peaceful protests. Nothing like that. Nobody throwing Molotovs. People, grabbing things. Nobody even broke anything. They went around like statues and stuff like that. They didn't spray paint anything. There was no plans, clearly no plans to go into the Capitol that day. This was not planned. They tried to prove that it was a coordinated and well planned out in advance, including Trump with the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and the other Trump supporters. You fell on your face on that one, Democrats. It clearly wasn't planned. Nobody brought guns. Nobody brought spray paint to do anything. Were people wearing body armor and all that stuff? Of course they were. It's the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. They're militias. That's normal. Let's be honest. We see people doing that all the time. With these militias and so forth, which I support. By the way, I support militias, as long as they keep it peaceful and don't hurt anyone. Our country is founded on militias. George Washington, technically, was the leader of one of the greatest militias. The U.S. Continental Congress and future United States of America. But anyway, all they proved to me in the hearings was that there was a lot more stuff that happened, a lot more people involved. They proved to me that it was not coordinated, not planned. It was a spur of the moment thing. It got out of hand and people got excited. People were furious. Did Trump feed the fire? Maybe, with his speeches, but his speeches weren't calls to violence. By no means. I will march with you. Let's go to the Capitol. We'll fight like hell. Those aren't calls for violence. If they are, then every president that's said we got to fight for this or that is guilty as well. So let's go get all of them now. And that includes Obama. They all said things like that. It doesn't mean Trump was wearing a suit. Trump's 70-some years old. He's ready for the, overthrowing of Congress. He didn't even march to the Capitol. It was something that got way out of hand. But the hearings proved to me that Trump is probably not going to get indicted on anything. It's going to be too hard. He didn't come right out and say anything. And just because people got overexcited and did things, it would be easy to prove in court that it was not what they're claiming it was. Should he have tried to get them to stop sooner? Maybe, but maybe he couldn't. Like I said before, he's in a cavalcade. They're leaving the speech area where he gave the rally, had the rally and gave the speech. It takes the Secret Service hours to plan a route just to make sure that it's still safe to take back to wherever he's going. So he could have been sitting there in the presidential limo for a couple hours not even knowing what was going on. knowing Trump, did he sit there at the White House, watch it for a few minutes because nobody was getting hurt? And then once it started getting a little too long, maybe he decided to. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. We'll never know. But you got to prove that. You got to prove that he intended to do that. And they're not going to be able to prove that. They can't read his mind. So, they're really, the real reason for the hearings is they want to keep him from running again in 2024, especially if it's against Biden. It's in the bag if it's against Biden 2024. But that's what all I got out of the hearings. They're not going to get anywhere, just like the Mueller report and all this stuff. They're not. It's going to be too difficult to too much opinion and hearsay to try to prove that he called for an insurrection, an overthrow of the government, all that. Could it sway some Republicans? It could. I don't know. But that's my opinion. That's what I got out of it. Like, share, and subscribe, and leave me something in the comments. Tell me what you think. But remember to be safe and stay safe. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye. And ladies.